Welcome back, and after a surprising Game 1 of Series 2, not what we expected, we spoke obviously before the game started that Direwolves, have the capability to be able to put it up against the Chiefs, but at least I didn't think it would happen this early. Rusty, what was your opinion on the first game of this series?
I mean, when you come into a best of five, Nick, it's often the first game where the biggest spanner is thrown into the works, and I think that in terms of the skill check, the form check, how are both of these teams going? I think we saw a lot of expected things. I think at the same time, though, it's worth pointing out that Direwolves obviously came in with an early strategy, and I really like that because for me, the fact that they threw a spanner into the works just after draft at level 1 I'm talking about with the late invade, I like the idea of don't make anything easy for the Chiefs and attack where you think that you can beat them. So attacking the jungle level 1, picking an Olaf and playing to the Olaf side on a blue invade against an Elise, I like it. I think it's great that it works, and for me that's Direwolves playing to not only their strengths but against the Chiefs' strengths to keep that down. So, I mean, really, in terms of form check, I think that was a great start from the Direwolves.
Well, this is also the 2 weeks, kind of 2 respective games at least, that we've saw Direwolves get massive gold leads against Chiefs. One of them they threw, which was just like a horrendous throw, but that's not the point. The point is that Direwolves now 2 games in a row have severely punished the Chiefs. And I was talking to you, you guys off camera about how I think that the Chiefs, or when pressured or when Croc's not running the show, they go into like some form of damage control, which they can never really break out of. And it's always like, okay, I'm just going to catch waves. We'll just catch waves and we'll scale. And that's fine. And that's all we'll do. And we'll be back in the game and it'll be good. But there's no like, what's the step after that? And as we saw, like, they just continuously got engaged on, continuously were getting pressured and just taking fights that they didn't want, but they had to take. And I think that's a big problem for the Chiefs when their Croc engine isn't running.
Yeah.
You got to get that Croc engine running. Sorry, you got to get it.
I mean, there's a cycle for both teams, which I think is interesting to Juice's point as well. Like, the Direwolves cycle involves Mir going top lane at some stage for pretty prolonged periods, and we even still saw that, right? But the way the game started was giving the advantage to that side of the map, so it wasn't a negative thing, so to speak, on the state of the game. I do think that we would agree that Mir could have done a lot more with his lead and been able to influence the whole map, but he defaulted to his habit, his known, and what works for him. And so for better or worse, that's the way he plays. And then Chiefs do those similar things, right? They fall behind, they damage control, they do what they know works for them, but there's perhaps other things that they could have been doing, like at level 1, not starting blue buff. And ultimately, we hit a point in this game where it just kind of came down to team fighting. Direwolves did out team fight their respective opponents here in this game, but it does still draw, like there are so many concerns from a game that was resolved in just team fighting with the way it started.
Well, that's a big thing that you said, the concerns. I don't, Direwolves on this game, so I should be riding the high horse of the Direwolves are actually in this series. I mean, are favourites in this series now, but I'm concerned at how Chiefs were able to stabilize with that level 1. They had a 2.5 level lead in jungle, and as Rusty said, we saw Mir get into his, I guess, what I would call them habits of going top lane when there was maybe for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, he could have towered over bot lane and just accelerated the game. The game would have been a blowout. He had ample opportunity to go to the other lane, but it was like just both teams going into habits in which may not be the best for them in this series.
So Rusty, you spoke before about the idea that like game 1 is where you sort of feel the waters, throw things out, see what happens. Direwolves, we've spoken about not potentially capitalizing on some of their advantages early. What sort of playstyle do you think that they could settle into for game 2, given that it looks like Croc may not be on the form that we're used to him being on?
So Croc was pretty heavily attacked here on the Chiefs side, so it's hard to actually give him a pure form check and know what we'll get in the second game. He played the Elise, he was into the Jarvan, and it was a gank style matchup from both of them, and then he was level 1 invaded on the one camp that he really wants. So I don't necessarily think that this game's an indicator of anything different or new that we'll see from Croc in the forthcoming games. I do look at, so for the Chiefs, the Jace pick is something that's interesting to me. I'm not sure if we will see that again, particularly when the Chiefs are on blue side. because that to me was weird. So the first adaptation could be red side, and then looking at the Jace pick, because ultimately the draft wasn't the biggest problem in this game. It was a lot of just reflected through in-game decisions.
The draft definitely wasn't the biggest problem, but in saying that, it could have been a lot better. Like I think that the Direwolves draft was good for them. I mean, I'm never a big fan of the Olaf, but it's worked countless times for them, so you can't say anything other than pick it. But yeah, like you said, like you pick Jace. Jace goes down 40 CS in a side. Is like doing nothing to pressure the side, and then it's just coming to group and team fight. Like surely something else would make sense. Something else would be better. I think like I said to you guys, this game, if anything, left me with more questions than answers. I'm just as confused coming out of that game as I was when the series started.
I was going to say, you did mention that. What are the biggest answers you need from Chiefs for Game 2?
From Chiefs, I need, again, okay, we've showed that if Croc has a bad game, we can stabilize, but what happens next?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happens when we stabilize a game that we should be behind in? How do we then get a lead or then press, like, to get a lead? And then the other question I have is, like, what's our champion pool like? What are our picks? What are our blind picks? What's our 1-2? Do we have a blind top lane? I haven't really seen these answered during the regular season. And I think it's, well, no better time to answer that than now. So those are the two main things for me.
I wouldn't say this for certain Jews as well, but like we had this conversation off air, and I think it's important to bring up. Like TN can play things like the Ornn, and that may be one of the things they look at. But for me, like thinking upon that fact, like while he can play a tank and while he could be the Ornn first pick blind into whatever, it may be playing into the Chiefs' minds that like isn't that exactly what Chippies is comfortable against? Like if you first pick an Ornn, like don't you just give them the perfect comp, and especially when they're on the red side?
I like to use this analogy, or not even analogy, but everyone can play something during the regular season. I can play whatever I want during the regular season, right? Like, you know, I maybe only had a week practice on a jungle champion, but I can play it. It's fine. It's week 5. Of course I can play it. But can TN play Ornn in playoffs? Can TN play Ornn in playoffs? Can TN play a tank top laner in playoffs versus Chippies? You're right. Like that's a different question. We're not asking the same question anymore. The question is in the biggest pressure of your career, in the highest pressure environment where like the dub is really important, what's your champion pool like then? Because I often ask a question, I ask players a question when I coach them. What are your 4 champions that you'd play at Worlds or play for $1 million right now? And people, the cogs start ticking and they're like, and then you realize they've only got 2. They've only got 2, they've only got 1. So what is it?
Well, that's an excellent question, and we may be finding out the answer to that question for Game 2. As we've mentioned, the stakes only get bigger from here on out, and this is where you start to question yourself, you start to double-guess yourself, and the screws really get tightened. So it is time to head into the next game. It is Game 2 of Chiefs versus Direwolves. Chiefs, obviously, not the start that they were looking for this game. Direwolves, very happy with the way the Game 1 turned out. Can they not make the mistake from the beginning of the last game and start to capitalize on this advantage that they have now? Let's find out with Chiefs versus Direwolves in the Macca's Jam Select.
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.
It's Macca's Champ Select time. It's game number 2 here with Direwolves leading this best of 5 series 1-0. Definitely bringing it to the Chiefs. Definitely having some creative draft instructions and ideas to navigate through that early game, and just some great plays from level 1 there, Spawn.
Yeah, absolutely. And the real question on everyone's mind right now, Skimmy, is obviously you've cast 4 games in the first set. Now the 5th game is the game 1 of the second set. This has the potential to be a long night, especially if the Chiefs turn back up. You said you had a coffee last game. What's for dinner, mate?
There is no dinner, mate. It is just caffeine. We're living the full liquid diet.
So, I cheekily marinated some chicken wings before the show.
Yes.
And I've just been chowing down the whole time on some delicious chicken wings. Skimmy, food is fuel.
Do you know what that is, though?
You
That's
need to be able to
the
keep your
difference.
body going, man.
That's adulthood right there. See, for myself, I might have to buy into the hype. I keep seeing those golden arches. It may have to be a McDonald's time.
I did that last week. I think, like, yeah, I don't know if you were in the studio when I was doing it, like the virtual studio.
No.
But, like, I was just sitting there just eating. I think I got a quarter pounder meal and 10 nuggets.
Oh,
And
man.
I just sat there and just ate it on webcam for everyone in the control room.
And you
It
got
was
like
just
that
a beautiful
ASMR
moment.
stream going on where like production
Yeah,
are like,
that's
oh, can we get a
what I said
mic
as
check?
well,
And you
just
just
a
like
bit of mock top.
chomp, chomp, chomp.
Yeah.
That is the kind of content that they want to see. But the content we're going to see in this draft, all memes aside, this is not a food stream. It's definitely going to be all about playing League of Legends. They're going to stick with the Varus. Katsuri, obviously fantastic in that laning phase. Fell off a little bit in the later stages as the team were just able to get collapsed upon. Well, both really are going to stick to that same content. They're going to say, we're going to rock with the Ezreal as well.
Yeah, really interesting here because we see a priority on Trundle that we might have not necessarily seen in game number 1. Now, that could be jungle, that could be top lane. Cast your mind back also to Eons gone by, Skimmy, and it could be a support into the Tahm Kench. Very good at playing keep away here.
Nope.
But it's not going to be, because that's a Taric.
Big Taric is going to come online. You take away to Kalista. I guess this is a hybrid of that same sort of idea with the mobility.
I mean, well, Taric is just the best team fighting support, mate. He makes everyone go invulnerable. So, like, if that's the case, if what you think your game plan is survive the early game, put Croc behind, our team fight late game with things like Ezreal and Corki, Taric is maybe the best support to have because he doesn't provide great hard engage, but he does provide really good follow-up CC into some of Chippy's champions pool. And much in the same way as Yuumi, it just scales forever. Like, it's one of the best scaling supports in the game.
It's interesting to see that they've actually denied away the Corki again. Well, they've denied the Corki, I should say, just flat out. Not going to allow Shock to have that one. Found a fair bit of value with it. The response from Direwolf says we really want to limit what Claire can playmake with. Take away the Cassidy, take away the LeBlanc, and make sure that we are fighting on terms where maybe the Cosmic Radiance will be able to get that full channel time off and actually stick.
And are we going to see the first Galio? Because the way this pick down is gone, I think both teams would really like Galio right now. He's great initiation, he's great re-initiation. That's not a Galio, it's a good block to Galio, however. Azir, one of the best answers to Galio mid, especially with Hail of Blades. You just, like, destroy him all laning phase long.
Yeah.
So maybe we don't get to see it. What does Claire play then? You can play Orianna. It's a crappy matchup for Ori. Diana, also a possibility. But then you're playing Diana into Taric and Ezreal. That sounds crap.
It would be rough, yeah. You wouldn't want to do that. I'm wondering if he wants to go for, like, someone scaling, like the Ryze, perhaps?
I mean, Ryze is an answer, but it's not a good laning phase. Karma has a good laning phase. But I really am not a fan of the Chiefs' first 4 picks. Like, a hard split pusher would bail them out of this so much, in my opinion.
What is that split pusher going to be as TN cycles through multiple champions? He originally started with the Aatrox, and that may be where he lands as well. It's been his most played champion this split, but he will default back to the Akali, wanting a playmaker. And now you've got plenty of targets that can really utilize the movement speed buff that Karma provides.
But how do they ever fight? They're relying on Katsuri to start every single fight here.
Correct, yeah.
And then once again, you're playing against Corki Azir, Ezreal Azir. This comp just, if the game goes for a year, they're stronger after the year is over. Whereas I look at the Chiefs composition, and they have very limited windows to be able to get this going. They need to be able to generate action. And I just think Claire's champion pool right now doesn't generate the action they need. So they are so reliant on Croc and Katsuri to perform out of their skin for this composition to work. And I think, like, Juves was saying it, right? There is one thing to be a big game player during regular season. We see everyone kind of step up and do that. And I'm sure you've seen this in your casting career as well. You've cast a lot of different games. But to be a big game player in a best of 5, the names probably come to your head, like, immediately, who those players are.
Absolutely. That's what you're expecting in this situation here. I mean, this is a big call from, CL to say, look, this is the draft we want to bring into game number 2. This is what we feel like is going to be an answer. I don't know, there's obviously so many different mindsets that come into it when you're looking at a best of 5 as, do you want to, once again, be creative in the second game? Do you want to really, draw out all your cards and say, we just need to get any form of numbers on the board? I feel like it's such a fragile but very controversial topic because there's going to be so many different aspects or ways to handle it. But, you look at this one at face value and you go, oh, I understand what Direwolves want to do. Chippy's going to split push. He's going to get those 3 to 4 items. He's just going to just destroy people when he can jump in with those hook shots. Trundle, he just wants to put down pillars. Tarek can just do Tarek things. You kind of look at really what Chiefs have and you're thinking they need to, land something, hope that nobody gets blown up. Karma and Tom Kench just need to always be there holding hands, like skipping ropes. You get worried.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about Karma is you want to get multiple rotations out of Mantra Shield in a team fight. That's generally how Karma plays. But if you're playing against Ezreal Azir, you want the team fight to be over in 2 seconds. You want them to be dead or you to be out, with maybe a kill or 2. So I don't really see where it fits in. However, the level 1 strength is very nice, and you can see the Chiefs use that immediately to not repeat the mistakes they run in. They get a vision of the jungler immediately.
They do indeed. Whether or not Direwolves have any other tricks that they want to display on this game, we will have to wait and see. But let's crack it into game number 2 of this best of 5 series between both the Direwolves that lead the series currently at 1-0, taking on the Chiefs. Going to be an interesting draft. Going to understand really as this game progresses how they're going to execute. But a face check like that would spell disaster for Tom Kench. Running into the bush to spot a Tarek. Never a good time.
We said it already. This is a wave that's supposed to get priority, Skimmy. This is a wave that you want to have push. But when you take 50% of the Tahm Kench health, can you really generate push now in this lane?
Going to be sitting back for a fair bit, right? Just looking to try and burn through those resources to top himself up. Could be rough.
And both junglers will solo start. This is definitely going to suit Lee Sin in my opinion. Trundle has got a pretty good clear as well. But Lee Sin is the best solo clearer. He solo clears without using potions. And the answer is yes. Apparently they still do get priority without potions.
Well, I'll have to wait and see how these levels start to scan on up. Already Croc having a much more adventurous start, if you will. Already going into the enemy jungle and saying, hello, I know where you're at. There's a ward down to keep bit of an eye on where you're at. Now, who makes the alpha call to smite away this one? It is going to be Croc that steals it away. Instantly letting know that Miru, hey, you had my number in game number 1, but I will not allow a repeat of those mistakes to happen again.
Ooh, and I think that's super interesting for the mindset of Croc. He didn't just hard cross mid lane and go to the red buff instantly. As we see a bit of a fight in the top lane.
It is the shield that Camille offers in her kit, doing a lot to negate the burst that can come out from Akali, but the shurikens from afar, always so annoying.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that actually Theon gets very hard push priority in this lane. That means top lane Scuttlecrab definitely is going to be the play. And I didn't expect this early game to go this way, especially after the chunk in bottom lane. I kind of expected Claire to get prio, but Halo Blades Azir can fight for it, definitely, can get that push back. After the level 1 chunk, I think Ezreal and Tarek should have been able to control this wave. And it looks like they're even struggling to control the wave off the bounce, Skimmy. And Theon has just got hard shove in the top lane as well, so Croc should be able to re-invade here. He has full control of both sides of Summoner's Rift.
That he does. He's going to start off by going to top Scuttle to guarantee some vision for those easier rotates between lanes and keep eyes on where Miru may be. Chippies was looking for it, but a beautiful Shroud will cloak that engage and prevent any form of retaliation there.
I think Theon could have looked for a mini all-in there. I mean, Grasp of the Undying down, you could see that the shield had also expired. And dodging out of the hookshot is a lot of the setup for Camille's damage, but Theon, he realizes that he's not here for a good time, he's here for a long time, wants to stay healthy in this laning phase.
And has to be careful as Miru is on the hunt, having used that sweeper now, preventing any form of vision, but that damage that comes out of this bot duo warmed up from game 1, ready to exert it again. The retaliation as the pots come rolling on through is that Katsuri can definitely take the pain too.
Yeah, can we just appreciate how well Katsuri has played this laning phase after Korea CK came to his lane with no potions whatsoever? He is having push prio. He hasn't given it up off the bounce. He's now taken a very advantageous trade and baited out a summoner spell as well. And you can see that Croc is a huge beneficiary from this. As Trundle showed on the top side of Summoner's Rift, Croc has just been able to waltz in. He's stealing himself a Gromp right now. And he can stick around and maybe threaten a dive or threaten it all in onto this Trundle. Although he hasn't back, so maybe not the best time to go for it.
No, not at all. And the vision will spot out that Lee Sin is in the area as a reset happens in mid lane too. So it seems to be a bit of a stalemate here as lanes look to reset.
I wonder if the observers are listening, because if they are, it would be great to get a look at Croc's gold at the moment. Because there is two trains of thoughts with Lee Sin right now. One is kind of the old school, like ganking Lee Sin, warrior, super strong. The other is that Lee Sin is a really good power farmer on the current patch, and can win out a lot of these matchups if he grabs himself an early Tiamat. And it looks like Croc has stayed around on Summoner's Rift for a very long time, so I wonder if he is sitting on the 1200 gold mark, where he can grab himself a Tiamat. 35 CS doesn't seem like enough. I think it's just going to be, Red Smite plus a longsword, but it will be interesting to see what he goes towards.
Yep, that is the call. The boots are there as well with the control to add into the mix of things, so plenty of vision that the Chiefs can look to establish as they turn their attention towards this first Drake, which is going to be an Infernal one, so not a bad one to get off the board.
So he did have enough for the Tiamat, so you can see that this means that Croc just looking for early skirmishes, not looking to farm all that much at all. Because, 650 plus 650, 1300, that's definitely Tiamat and a pink ward if you want to come back out on Summoner's Rift. But he doesn't go towards it, Skimmy. He's a disciplined man. Instead, just goes towards that red smite. And he has really good dueling power against Miru right now. At level 6, the tides might turn again, but Lee Sin can really pick the fights at this stage of the game. And with the additional longsword, should really be able to win majority of these skirmishes.
Well, Chiefs are going to set themselves up for success in this bottom lane to make skirmishes like that a reality. We know obviously how good Lee Sin is at soloing away those dragons, and the Scuttle will ensure it. As Korea CK takes it away, preventing any potential contest if Miru was lurking. But they keep up this bounce, as you say, they keep up this push.
Yeah, and what I mean by the bounce, right? So as this wave is coming in right now, with the 3 caster creeps alive, they should start taking heavy aggro, and as it's on the direwolf side of Summoner's Rift, they should be really confident walking up and hitting the melee creeps first, and they should be like looking to constantly chip out. Maybe Taric can get some cheeky auto attacks as well. Obviously with Trundle on the opposite side of Summoner's Rift, this is more difficult to execute, but what that means is it's really hard to maintain priority off this bounce, when it all in.
Now comes the Chenic Eruption as they look to really make things a reality in this bottom lane. The Devour goes out as he gets dazzled, and that is all that will happen as First Blood is achieved and a dragon to follow in quick pursuit. A great little achievement here by the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I mean, you can just see that means that they don't get priority at all, because the one time they try and fight for it, Skimmy, they die. So, I mean, not getting prio in any situation, that means that Croc has been able to solo out a buff. With Taric dead as well, they're able to shove that into the turret. They also should be able to recall, run topside. It's going to be perfect timing on the blue buff spawn. Also is going to be a Rift Herald spawn as well at 8 minutes into this game. And Chiefs definitely got the early game they're looking for. That is for sure.
Oh, that's a nice little read there by Tien as well to say, look, I know you're looking to try and reset and go back. They're maybe looking for an all-in. One more would do it. He locks him in place under the tower. They're both so low. Unwilling to make that final mistake, unwilling to be the one to lead the charge. Top lane lives to survive another day.
Very well timed all-in from Thien though, because look at the wave positioning. That is starting to build, and it actually looks like they're going to ult to try and trim it, although not going to hit the wave. And that means that Katsuri can just slow push this wave. Now there is no ult, no summoner flash available for chippies, so this is going to be a double creep wave crashing. No one on the right side of the map to help defend it. And this should be first turret falling down. I don't know why he dropped that so early. Oh, we've had this conversation so many times.
Absolutely.
Don't drop until there's 2 plates left.
And now the armor is going to be so big as a result.
They don't get it. It's
going to take
so
long. It really is. And as you say, I don't think they're going to get it. Another creep wave will come in, so if they do get it, we're going to be here for another 10 seconds.
We're here for a very long time. I feel like Azir could have rotated up in this time. Trundle could have rotated up in this time. You look at Claire, he's out of mana. But they will get it. Okay, all's well that ends okay. But people at home, do not drop Rift Herald like that. That is a terrible Rift Herald drop.
Yep, you want it to go down when there's 2 turrets remaining. Otherwise, the armor that it provides makes it very hard to, well, destroy, as you would have seen on your screen right there. Now the bot lane is still sitting in strong. They didn't fall victim to the lane swap, and that's obviously what allowed the Rift Herald to come online. So Vital was looking to get some plates of his own, get some XP and gold to get himself online that much quicker. Really looking to get that sheen and start getting the components to make this Ezreal a sniper from afar.
Hey, Skimmy. What's your favorite champion at the moment?
I really like Wukong. I just started playing Wukong, and I find him so fun to play.
And do you have days, right, where you'll start a new champion and you'll play it, and then like it'll just feel amazing, and then you'll play it the next day and you're like, oh, I have to go back to my main because like my fingers just aren't working today?
I've definitely had moments like that. I don't even know if it's my fingers or if it's just my brain lagging.
Yeah. So like, what I'm getting at is maybe today is a day to play Lee Sin. Because every single jungler that plays Lee Sin, like he went completely missing from the OPL, right? Yes. We haven't seen this guy in a long time. He was hot commodity. Then he went missing. People were playing like Sejuani and stuff instead. Then today, Lee Sin, out of nowhere, in a primary tank meta, has just reared his ugly head again. And the 2 people that played it only played it in the Avant series, and now Croc is obviously playing it this game. They've had really good Lee Sin performances. This is a warrior Lee Sin with a equal levels to solo laners on the Direwolves, having a really great performance so far.
Absolutely. It's interesting to me, right, because I was expecting to come into this week with see a ton of like Braum and Sejuani because they just found so much success, just, you know, the dirty double stacking of the stuns and just the beefiness that it provides. But, you know, each week we always get a slightly different idea. Yes, obviously 10.7 came out, but I suppose the biggest change for me had to be the Galio.
Yeah, absolutely. Kick on.
Kick is on. Sonic Wave will not connect, however. That's all Shock needs to make sure that he can disengage from that one. Keeps all the summoners. Lives to fight another day.
I spoke too soon.
It's the caster's curse.
See it.
You praise the Lee Sin. Who do we need to praise next?
I don't know. Shock just played that really well, didn't he? That's a funny one, Skibby. I would hit that Q for the viewers at home. When you kick someone on Lee Sin, they fly in a straight line, and you're able to guarantee that Q. Well, it's still a skill shot. It turns out even God's immortal because Croc is a very good jungler, and he misses that one.
Now, what do Direwolves look to capitalize as a result of this one? You can see that the Ezreal is getting a little bit pesky here from afar. Always landing these skill shots. You can understand that Katsura is looking to go back for that base. Must be incredibly close to completing that balk, but Ezreal will stick around and continue to grow with the CS lead he's now achieved.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of what happened the first game, right?
Yeah.
Ezreal was like looking fine and then got 2v2 killed and then, you know, then came back and started pushing again. See whether Katsuri is able to turn this game around. Mirror's going in.
Yeah, we've been looking to see really when this Trundle will find some value, find some love. He's gone for a very early subjugate, which is finding a lot of value right now. As he just walks into the front line, out comes the Cosmic Radiance after that. And if it was disengaged before, it's definitely disengaged now. But a Chain of Corruption will turn the tide of a fight. Thank you very much. Chiefs just pick up a double, and it felt like they were CC'd in place for 10 years. A double kill now for this Varus. The fight continues. Chippy's desperate to take that man down. Devour is much. Vital, please. He's burning the flash to ensure it. Is it worth it? I don't know. The carries get doubles. There is kills galore. Chiefs, well and truly on the map.
And this is the thing, Skimmy, is the Chiefs just somehow always manage to win these 50-50 team fights, and they do it so decisively. This time around, what a great re-engage. They wait out the Cosmic Radiance. They wait out all of the, I guess, subjugate, everything that was here. And they wait until the Direwolves comp is mortal again. What I mean is, right here, they're immortal. You're not killing anyone. You know, multiple members in this Cosmic Radiance. However, they bide their time. And the great re-engage here from Thien. And once that corruption spreads from the Varus, look at the pop-off attack speed that he's able to get in these fights. Chippies dives forward. he's not going to be able to get it done as well. Claire with a really great tether. And then Vital looks for it, has to burn the flash in the end, will ultimately get his man, but that gives over another kill. And come out of the replay, Mirror is in trouble, but I think the Direwolves are in trouble in general. This is now a Gunblade 3-0-1 Akali for Theon.
Absolutely, both of those members right there really finding value with their ultimates, and not a single flash remains after that skirmish. It looks so damn good for the Direwolves, but they stacked on up as you would need to with the Taric ultimate, but paid the ultimate price there. And Chiefs now finding that advantage, knowing that they are up in gold by at least 3k at this stage. We'll say we can bully you away from this Rift Herald. We are well and truly back in the driving seat here.
Hold the thought for a second. Croc looking for Vital.
Uh-oh. He's going to disengage for a little bit. The pillar needs to come up.
Oh, what a
the first
kick.
one. Oh my gosh, the kick. And all that Trundle can do is look in amazement, thinking, I can't protect you.
That's my favorite thing to do on Lee Sin, is when someone tries to peel for a carry, to kick the tank back through the carry. It does more damage to the carry, and then it sets up your other Q, your Q off the knock-up as well. Really well played from Croc. He's made a mess of a couple of plays, but that one definitely nailed. Food for thought, Skimmy. You know, when I've watched so much League of Legends at the moment that I've kind of gone insane, as you might have been able to notice from Carson and me. I'm very erratic at the moment. The indoors from COVID-19 and the too much League of Legends is really melting my brain. But do you ever think of who the best team in the OPL is without summoner spells?
It's a good question, because I've never actually really sat down and analysed it, but I always wonder, right? Obviously, solo queue is no metric to ever utilise in a weighted pro conversation, but I always think, you know, when summoners are down, surely you should be looking to, you know, execute on it, and I'm imagining at this level, right? It's so well timed out that you go, this is our moment, this is when we want to execute, this is when we want to force those fights.
Because I, in my opinion, Direwolves, Legacy and Order are kind of the two teams that play really well with summoner spells.
Sure.
But, you know, without summoner spells, I'll speak for my players. I won't throw any of Jensen's players under the bus. They have a propensity to get caught out a little bit without their summoner spells. Whereas I think Chiefs without summoner spells are one of the few teams that still keeps up the aggression. So I really like in a game when all flashes are down, like the 5-minute window that it provides the Chiefs, because I think that they are, you know, kind of LPL-esque in that they will just always look for fights.
Sure.
And if you're aggressive and decisive without summoner spells, you can get the jump on people. Right, so if I'm Vital, if I'm Shock, I'm really wary of the fact that Croc is the only person on Summoner's Rift right now that has Flash available, and he probably is going to go hunting.
Having to be wary of that one. I suppose, I mean, you raise a good point, right, in that you'd imagine that teams would play more passive as a result. That isn't their agenda. They only know that they are very mechanically gifted when it comes to team fights. That's not going to change what they want to do in this situation right now. There was a potential for an all-in had Tien decided to go a little bit further with that one and go for the ultimate collapse, because Taric was waiting in the wings, but they paid a price. Mid lane turret will finally fall on down. Very close one when it's come to structures with 2-0.
Yeah, and League of Legends is a game where basic math really helps. You could see right there that Thien did the quick maths. 2 people on mid lane, 1 person on top lane. I can see chippies. That means that 4 out of 5 people are accounted for, but there is someone not accounted for. I'm not going to take this all in because Taric could be down here and he definitely would be able to swing it. Chiefs, in the meantime, punish the Direwolves lineup by staying on the map, taking mid lane turret, and now they also take bottom lane. This is a good completed rotation. They also have Tahm Kench ultimate to defend Katsuri right now. A minute on this drag and keeping control of the area and trading cross map is definitely a good plan for the Chiefs Esports Club. And Direwolves, when they're on the back foot, don't look like they have many more answers than what the Chiefs did in Game 1. I know that Juves and Rusty were really critical on the Chiefs on how they played from behind. I would love to hear their insight on how the Direwolves have played from behind in this last kind of 3 minutes, because seeding objective and ground is kind of the aim of the game right now for both teams when they're in a deficit. You know,
Absolutely.
Just catch waves, just farm up.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting for me, right, is how we looked at this draft and we're like, what is the Chiefs composition looking to do, right? You know, looks very obvious at face value that Direwolves have these, you know, item spikes and these abilities to really make things happen. But that last skirmish we saw there where Tien and Katsuri just really popped off, you know, it showcased maybe, okay, that's not the the expected always situation, but definitely finding value and merit in what they can achieve if given half a chance. And
Oh, Shock.
Shock is going to get all in. Now going to get met by multiple members. Flashes have to be burnt. Cosmic Radiance as well as Korea CK comes in for assistance. Tien actually living as he disengages away into a Karma Shield too. Flashes have to be burnt to ensure that spells connect, but the Great Escape is complete.
That's a bloody nightmare if you're the Direwolves. They set up for a top lane siege. Thien goes aggressive. Shock has to... Oh,
Well, that is a one-man chain of corruption, and it
Skimmy,
will
hold me.
force out.
This game is getting real wild real quickly. All Vital wanted there was to get back on mid lane wave. He's like, just let me get to my turret. I'll catch the wave deep. I'm not here to fight, Mr. Katsuri, please. And Katsuri flashes on his noggin.
He sees red in his eyes right now. Like, I know that you're probably on your own. I'm going to make this happen. I've got boys in support, and I've got damage to make this a reality. Look at the score sheet right there, up by 1,500. He's, once again, justifying his strength on this pick, and they're not done just yet. They're looking for more. They know the weakness of this, and finally again, he wants us to get that midway. They will fall on down. Lee Sin kick knocks people up, left, right, and center. And they just pick up a triple. Easy as can be.
Yeah, poor Chiefs. Poor Direwolves. They've really fallen into a trap that a lot of people have. They think that the Chiefs are going to handshake control, right? Okay, you guys made your top lane play. We now get to make our mid lane play. Like, good job pushing that wave. We're going to catch it. And the Chiefs, they're just so aggressive. They're like, no, mate, that's not how this works. Any kind of objective, we're going to look to take the maximum. I mean, this right here personifies it. Our Lee Sin is doing their red buff while our team takes the Baron buff. Like, we're just taking everything away from you. If this steals it, it would be like a real serves you right moment. It doesn't, however. The Chiefs get everything. They are a greedy team, and it just pays dividends.
Why not? If you can ensure that you can get everything, you definitely can. And they understand that, hey, a true shot barrage can come across. They won't let that go across for free as a result. And I think, you highlighted at the start, this should be, in the makings of a very long best-of-5 series. There's not much that separates these two teams from a statistical standpoint, if anything, right? So it's the longevity factor that I feel like once we start reaching, if we do get to, games 4 and 5, could be a big point here.
Yeah, and I think also mental toughness, Skimmy, is really big in best of fives. I always say that give me like veterans or rookies in best of fives. Not journeymans. I don't want any journeymans. Journeymans, like 2-3 year old players, they're the worst people in best of five because they kind of think they know it all, but they don't. Rookies are kind of oblivious. Like, they just don't know how a best of five goes, so most of the time they're just blindly optimistic the entirety of it, right? Veterans obviously know the pace of what it's going. And the scary thing about the Chiefs lineup is they probably don't give a shit that they got beaten in game 1, right? they honestly probably don't care at all. They're just here to brawl and smack on. Like, Croc is pushing top lane by himself at the moment. Okay, interesting tactic. See how it pays off.
But it's an interesting conversation. Oh, okay. I won't be allowed to make that point because Katsuri, he's just gross. King Robert laying down the siege. He's got the crown on his head, and he's taking everything from you right now. He is now going to assist in getting this inhibitor. 22 minutes into this one. The Chiefs laying down the law, sitting in stone that they are the team that came second in the split, that they are the team that you can never discount out. But my question before that, right, leading into your point about rookies and veterans is, you talk about ego. Like, how do you necessarily kill ego? Is that something that they themselves need to do, or is that something very much driven by the coaching staff?
I mean, I think that the Chiefs players probably don't have all that much of an ego. Having talked to CL about it, they actually respect different people within their team than maybe the public would think. For example, like, I hear that Korea CK has a really loud voice in the team, and we probably don't talk about him enough on the OPL broadcast, right? So I think it's always strange as Croc goes in.
Well, that's an insect kick, and that's another kill to the Varus. 5-1-5. A stellar performance, a massive turnaround from what Vital's able to achieve on the Ezreal last game around. He is not a factor right now, as it would seem. The Cosmic Radiance expires, he falls on down as a result, but Chippies is starting to scale on up. He's starting to get those items starting to matter in these team fights, but it won't be enough because Varus is the king of the ADCs. He's only played Aphelios and Misfortune, but he's making a case for this to be his next best. and the Chiefs will look to close this game out in sub 25 minutes. The Nexus turrets will fall on down, and this best of 5 will be tied 1-1, Spawn.
And someone called 000, because there was just a murder on Summoner's Rift, Skimmy. The Chiefs Esports Club just come in and take care of business. If you're a Direwolves fan, please go back, watch game number 1, and erase game number 2 from your memory. Because that was not a pretty sight at all. And Skimmy, I think we have a series on our hands. You said the Chiefs reminding people of why they finished second. I mean, that is the Chiefs lineup that reminds everyone of why they were first for every single week of the OPL, apart from the last one.
Yeah.
Right? This is a team that has sat at the top of the table. And when they are in form, when they get their picks, like, is a Carly top good at the moment? I don't know. But Thien really made it look great in that game. So, you know what? Who cares?
He certainly did. And as you say, we have got a series on our hand. It is a best of 5 and is now tied at 1 apiece. So don't go anywhere, guys. Get yourself hydrated, get some snacks, come back. Game number 3 right after this break.